My grandfather was tasked with getting everybody on the ships, all the troops, and all the tanks and all the trucks and all the jeeps and all the equipment and all the ammunition. So that was his mission that he was given. Colonel Forney had worked very closely during World War II with a Navy admiral by the name of Admiral James Doyle. Doyle is the Navy guy. He's in charge of all the ships. Colonel Forney is the man on the ground, and he's in charge of getting everyone on the ships. They are tasked to make this evacuation a success, and they only had 2 weeks to do it. There's also a Korean doctor by the name of Dr. Hyun Bong-hak, and he tells them, get down to the port, we can try to save you. So these three men really worked together to kind of pull this refugee evacuation part off, because that was not really a priority for the military. They ended up saving 100,000. Militarily, if the UN forces had been wiped out at Chongjin and then they had not gotten to Hunam and they had not been evacuated, most likely Truman would have pulled all forces off the peninsula, and that probably would have been the end of the war, because the Chinese would have stormed down, they would have taken the entire peninsula, and the Korean peninsula would now be unified under Kim Jong-un. So that would have been the direct result, the failure of this operation. And then the impact of not taking the refugees. 100,000 refugees would have been killed or put in prison camps. Their lives would have been in great danger, and they knew that. I've interviewed between 30 and 40 former refugees, and every time they talk to me about what happened at Hunam, they are just so grateful that they weren't left behind. We do have secondhand reports of many people just getting slaughtered that were left behind. My book focuses on Hunam because that's what I know the most about, and I've spent 5 years doing research on it and writing this book, and it's just an amazing story that most people don't know about. When it gets published is tell this great unknown humanitarian story that really had a huge impact on so many people. On the ship, the Meredith Victory, 5 babies were born on that ship when it was in transit from Hunam down to Kojedo. And this one North Korean woman gives birth to this little baby. The men on the ship, they only knew one Korean word, and that word was kimchi. So they said, let's call the little baby Kimchi. Well, 5 hours later, another baby's born, and they said, well, let's call that one Kimchi 2. And then, of course, Kimchi 3, 4, and 5. I've interviewed Kimchi 1 and Kimchi 5, and they both now are 70 years old. They were born on December 25th or 26th of 1950. Kimchi 1 tells the story that when his mother and father got on the ship, obviously his mother is about to give birth. They get on the ship, but they have 2 children that they leave behind. They are certain that they'll be coming back, and they leave their 2 children with the uncle, with the father's brother. And, of course, it doesn't work that way. They never go back to North Korea. And Kim Chi-won tells me that his mother lived the rest of her life depressed. And you can imagine what she felt like. She left her 2 children behind. She never saw them again. He said there was no joy in her life, and there was no joy in their home. So it's heartbreaking. This story on many levels is a powerful one, and we need to keep the memory of what happened during the Korean War alive, because so many sacrifices were made by the UN soldiers. The Americans lost so many men, and then the Koreans lost so many people. So we have to remember the sacrifices that were made. I believe that the Korean War was not a defeat for the United States, and I don't think it was a defeat for South Korea. Yes, we would love to have had the peninsula unified, but South Korea was saved. It was saved from communism. It's a young but vibrant democracy, and this was all made possible because of the sacrifices that were made during the Korean War.